What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. And what I've got for you today is I'm talking about a very popular mantra, especially in the coaching spaces and all over the internet. And that is the change your thoughts, change your life mentality, or change your story, change your life mentality. And why that hasn't worked for you so far. I know if you're like me, I spent a lot of years just trying to change my thoughts and put myself into a state so that I could force myself to do whatever it is, the thing or the task at hand, no matter what. And, the mantra can be used, no doubt. There are times where you can, mind over matter something. But if this is your overall way of life, I'll tell you what, I have not seen it end in any other way than guilt, shame, or burnout. Because the fact is that if you use this mantra over a long period of time, what you're essentially doing is overriding or bypassing the feelings that are coming up within your body. So, not saying that this mantra can't work and can't be applicable for certain situations, but we do need a more holistic understanding of how the body works, and especially the nervous system, as you know, I so much talk about. So let's get started. So, when we talk about and think about change your thoughts and change your life, what is actually happening when you tell yourself something that might not be real, or you're trying to reframe something? What you need to have access to in order to do that is cognition. And cognition happens in what is called your prefrontal cortex, which is the smart part of your brain. It's your main frame, if you will. It's responsible for your executive functioning, all of your major decision making, your impulse control, your ability to delay gratification. All of those things are the job of the prefrontal cortex. And if you have listened to my episode 3, which is the foundations of self control, then you know all about the different states of the nervous system and what happens when we're disconnected from what is called our ventral vagal complex, or the part of your brain and your nervous system that's connected to flow and joy. Is basically what happens when that part of your nervous system starts to shut off and you get into a fight or flight, a yellow or a sympathetic state, or you drop down even further into what's called the dorsal vagal complex or shutdown. Your prefrontal, you start losing access or have completely lost access to your prefrontal cortex, which makes it darn near impossible to um, enlist cognition to do whatever it is that you're trying to do with regards to changing your thoughts, to changing your life. So, what does this mean broken down simply? Basically, if you are super stressed out, if you are super fatigued, if you have a lot going on your plate, if you feel physically bad, most likely you're not connected to your ventral vagal complex. Your prefrontal cortex is not online, and you don't have access to your cognition. So it is simply impossible to apply the mantra of change your thoughts, change your life. In fact, it's actually cruel when somebody, let's just say you're in a fight or flight or sympathetic state, or what I call a yellow state, or a dorsal state, a shutdown state, which is freeze or appease. And somebody says, oh, just change your thoughts or change your story. It's almost cruel to tell somebody that's in that state to do that, because they literally don't have access to the hardware that would allow them to do that. If you've ever been awake for way longer than you've wanted to, let's just say you pulled an all-nighter and you're exhausted the next day, try telling yourself to not be tired. Your body is going to tell you to F off because you are exhausted. Now, where change your thoughts, change your life can work is in a couple of places. One, let's say that you're using it in a temporary setting, right? You're really tired, you're doing a really hard workout, and you just want to get a couple extra reps in on a set. That would be a good time to go mind over matter. Or if you're in a race or you're doing something really hard, right? It can be helpful to try and trick your body into getting just that little bit more out of you. But if you use this as a framework or a way of life, essentially what you're doing is you're going to be overriding what is your body's normal responses to whatever it is that you're dealing with. So if you're really tired and your body needs rest and you have stuff to do, and you just tell yourself to not be tired and you push forward anyways, your body is eventually going to tell you to bugger off. So what's important to start to understand is if you really want to employ this idea of change your thoughts, change your life, or reframe things, there's a few things that need to happen first. One, you have to be well rested. You have to have access to the parts of your body that will allow you to use this type of, like I said before, cognition. Number two, you have to feel safe in your body. So if you are constantly in a state where you are perceiving threat, then your body is going to it's basically going to not allow you to have access to that ventral vagal complex, which will not allow you to have access or full access to your prefrontal cortex, which will make changing your thoughts and changing your life darn near impossible. So a practical way to start feeling safe in your body and rest is working in one of my favorite things is starting to build a mindfulness practice and, meditation, quiet time, active breathing, breath work, any time that you can allocate 5 to 20 minutes a day where you can just sit there and just check in with yourself and just start breathing. My favorite breathing is like, 4-second inhales, 6-second hold, 7 to 8 second exhales. And really what that does is it really helps you access and drop into a safe place. And why I use the word safe is because, it is what your nervous system is constantly doing, right? Your nervous system is constantly scanning at 1/100th of a second if your environment is safe or dangerous. So if you have a perception of safety, then you can, again, relax into that rest and digest restorative place, which will allow you, again, back into your cognitive part of your brain to start using these types of reframes and mantras. And again, why breath work and breathing and, just being able to connect with your breath, I think is so important is it sends a physiological sign to your body and to your nervous system by way of what's called the vagal break. When your exhale and your breath hold and your exhale is longer than your inhale, so again, 4-second inhale or 4 or 5 second inhale, a 6-second hold, and a 7 or 8 second exhale, when that vagal break is activated, what happens is you are physically telling your body, not just telling your body with your mind, but you are showing your body with proof that you're safe by way of the vagal break, which basically tells you like, hey, there is no active threat and allows you to bring your ventral vagal complex into play or your prefrontal cortex online. That's why like some people they'll do breath work and they'll say, oh man, I feel high, kind of like I feel just like so like fuzzy and warm and all that stuff. It's like that is your self energy, that is your ventral vagal complex turning online. And for a lot of people, they really haven't experienced that um very much. Again, going back to like the beginning of this podcast, is just like why I even started this podcast is like we live in such a busy world. Sometimes it's hard to slow down. Sometimes our brains and our body don't even feel safe to slow down. So, one of the beautiful things about starting a mindfulness practice, the idea isn't to just not think, right? It's not to just like clear your mind and be zen or whatever, because that's just not possible. If you're a human being, we're all like have monkey brain. And the whole point of a mindfulness practice is to just practice learning how you think, learning how you work. So if you're one of those people that just has never tried to do meditation because it's hard, it's like, well, yeah, it's hard, but like, what is hard about it? Like, what starts to come up for you when you start to sit by yourself with your own thoughts? A lot of times that's actually where the gold is. It's like, oof, I'm really worried about this, or I'm really worried about this. And then you can start actually digging into what it is that you can start doing to like actually make change in your life. And the more you do this, the easier it gets and the more benefit that you get from it. I hear a lot of people also on this note that talk about like, oh man, I want to get my creativity back. And a lot of times, like all that is that they're in too much of a sympathetic or dorsal state. And what happens in those states is we get disconnected to the ventral vagal complex again. And guess what? The ventral vagal complex or green or your self energy is does for you. It connects you with your creativity. So if you've noticed that your creativity is offline, well, there's a pretty good chance that you probably need to take a nap or do some more self-care practices to help you back into that more relaxed state. So we had so basically to get back into the idea of how to get into change your thoughts, change your life and have it actually work. We have the rest. Make sure you're getting enough rest. Start having a mindfulness practice so you can start just feeling safe in your body. And really, those are, I would say, to just not overwhelm you, are really the top two things that I would start trying to do. And then the last thing I would say is if you can get with a coach or a therapist or a counselor that can really help you lean into this stuff to start feeling comfortable, feeling certain emotions, and becoming more relaxed just in the moment. That is like the real power in this, because like once you can kind of understand like why you are the way that you are, why you experience certain things the way that you experience certain things, then you're going to be able to feel more comfortable just being. And I see it with so many people that are just like not comfortable just being, not being able to give people their undivided attention, not being able to sit still, fidgeting, needing certain substances just to be able to relax and, do nothing. When really we all have access to the ability to do this. A lot of times we just need to develop the ability to have self-control and self-regulation and understand that because we can't sit still just means that we don't feel safe to be still. And, a lot of that, again, if you've listened to previous episodes, stems from just how you were raised, what that environment was like. And when you're able to kind of like back that up and connect the dots and organize all that, it really helps you in the present moment. So once you're able to start doing this, then you're able to access your prefrontal cortex. When you're able to access all of the smart parts of your brain, you are actually able to go back and reprocess things, right? And when you're able to do that, then you can actually use change your thoughts, change your life. Because a lot of times we develop beliefs or stories or thoughts about certain people, places, or things based on something that we experienced when we were younger. And a lot of times, if you know anything about the human brain and its development and what is kind of like developmentally normal, is our prefrontal, the smart part of our brain, this part of our brain that we really need for executive functioning, doesn't come online until we're 25. And sometimes doesn't even finish until we're 30 years old. So if we experience something and we don't have caretakers to help us that are properly attuned to kind of help us work through certain, bigger events that we might experience, some would even call that a trauma, we can have an improper appraisal of certain emotions, certain people, certain feelings, certain environments, certain activities, situations, all the things. And we can live the rest of our life with that preconceived notion. So if you're able to access your prefrontal, if you're able to access ventral, you can actually take yourself back to those situations and then reappraise them in a way and start proving to yourself, like, oh, previously I thought maybe it was dangerous to feel grief or to feel anger or to feel anxiety or feel frustration. Like those are things that, weren't acceptable, let's just say. And we can start changing our thoughts around that, right? Because, like, for example, if before we just thought, hey, it's not okay to be angry. Let's just say, we had a caretaker or an uncle or an aunt or somebody in our life that just expressed anger in a really unhealthy way when we were younger. And we learned that, hey, anger is not safe to express, right? And once you're able to change your thoughts around this or change your beliefs, you can change your life. And then you can also start proving to yourself, hey, I can express anger in a way that's healthy as opposed to just suppress it. And then the unfortunate thing that happens when you suppress things, especially certain emotions, is they usually come out in ways that, are very unhealthy, and we hurt loved ones, we hurt the people around us, the ones that we're, trying to protect from that anger. We end up hurting them because we don't know how to control it and we don't know how to express it properly. So just one example of, what I can do with my clients and what I do with my clients is help them reappraise certain emotions, reappraise certain environments, people, places, things, so that they can start integrating these things in a healthy way. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully it de-shamed a little bit of the idea of, change your thoughts, change your life. If this hasn't worked for you, it's like, well, now you know why. And you also know a couple of tools and things that you can do to start maybe actually using it in the future. If you're ever interested in learning how to develop better self-control, self-regulation, and apply this into your life, learn more about the nervous system, I work with clients on this. This is what I do one-on-one. So feel free to click the link in my in the show notes to book a call to hop on to see if we're a good fit for that and learn more. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you on the next one.